Hey guys, hope everybody's doing good. We're gonna get started in few minutes. Let me know if my audio's good. I came back to Texas, um, in my apartment, so it'll be nice to test all the sound equipment out. Let me know if you could hear my voice, you could hear the background music, and what's going on. How you guys doing? It's probably gonna be a lighter stream today because I didn't stream last week because I was moving and kind of getting back into the swing of things. In today's live stream, we're going to talk about basically freelancing versus web development and kind of what should you do as a self-taught web developer. Many people ask me this question, and a lot of people get really excited about doing freelance. And after a lot of experience, kind of trying to find a job, looking for a job, and actually doing some freelancing, freelancing is not as easy at it as it's made out. It's actually very difficult and requires a lot of work. And it's just the way things are. And so, what I want to make sure that you guys kind of know is that sometimes it's easier to just get your job. But we're going to talk a little bit more about it, and say hello in the comments if you guys are here. Let me know how you guys doing, where you guys from, any questions you guys have, and more importantly, let me know where are you on the journey of getting your job. Are you just starting out learning? Have you been looking for jobs? Have you gotten to boot camps? Have you gotten to um, you know, interviews? Love to hear about it. But in today's show, we're going to talk about freelancing versus, getting a job. And a lot of people, when they first starting out, they go on interviews, and it does get really frustrating because a lot of people will start kind of, maybe you're not doing so well on the interviews and you start feeling down, and then you're like, you know what, maybe freelancing would be better. Maybe I should just forget trying to find a job and try to do freelancing. And freelancing, a lot of people think it has more perks, like, oh, you could work from wherever you want, you pick the clients that you want. But the issue with freelancing is that you're wearing many hats. When you work as a web developer, you have your role, you have your job, you show up and you do what you're required. So if you're a front end, React developer, that's what you're going to do. If you're a full stack developer, that's what you're going to do. If you're a back-end developer, that's what you're going to do. And what a lot of people don't realize, when you're working as a freelancer, you're actually going to be doing your job plus many other jobs like sales, marketing, accounting. I mean, one of the biggest issues I hated about freelancing, especially if it's a client that you found yourself, is that you might get the first payment, and then after you finish your project and you're looking and waiting to get your second payment, people take their time or they don't want to pay it, or maybe they want to break into payment plans, and you really always have to chase the money. So it's really difficult when you're starting on your own doing freelancing. And some people will say, well, there's plenty of websites like Upwork and other sites which allow you to, find gigs very easily. And we'll talk more about that and my opinion. And so you just have to understand, when you're looking to freelance, you're basically saying, I want to have my own business, which is automatically will say that you will be working 80 to 90 hours a week if you want to be successful. It's the nature of being a small business owner. And having a job, you just go and work for 40 hours and you do what you're told. And so the easier thing, in my opinion, is doing that. But let me see in the comments if you guys are here. Say hello. Let me know what's going on here. And I'll keep chatting, keep talking away about the plan today, talking about freelancing versus getting a job. And if you're just joining, hit the like button, put some comments. Let me know how you guys doing. Let me know if the audio and video is working. So yeah, so let me kind of show you my screen here, and I'll talk more as people come up and come in. But here we are. Well, let me share my screen first. All right. So here we are. A lot of people, when they start looking at freelancing, they look at websites similar to Upwork, right? They want to make sure that it's like, oh, if I sign up for Upwork, so many people make so much money and it's so easy to do so. And then you look at the front page and you see, wow, this person makes 40 hours an hour or this person made 70 bucks an hour, or this person's making $140 an hour, 119. That's a lot of money. We all wish we could make so much money, freelancing. But the truth is not as simple as it looks. These guys could be basically the top earners out of millions. I don't know how many users Upwork has, but out of all the users, they might be the top producers. Let's look worldwide and see what it says. So worldwide really doesn't change. 40 bucks an hour, 70 bucks an hour, 60 bucks an hour, 140 bucks an hour. But here's the thing. What you guys have to understand about Upwork, it is a race to the bottom, right? It's about people trying to underbid you, and most people, are not making the money that's advertised here. So I went on Upwork on Glassdoor just to kind of see the data they have, and as you could see, average base income is 15 bucks an hour. And it depends if you live in a country where, let's say, the cost of living is low. 15 bucks an hour might be a really good wage, and most people on average that's what they get. To see and like you see the range here, here's 15 bucks an hour, here's 24 bucks. So to like 75% of all the people make, $24. That's not the $53 or $140 that a lot of people are seeing and think they're going to make. And so if you go through websites like Upwork, it could be very difficult to actually build a reputation where you're able to make the money that you could be making at a job. I mean, by example, if you look at web development front end in my area, Austin, Texas, if you look here, and obviously a lot of these jobs are for senior developers, just random jobs, but still 150,000 a year, 100K a year, 116, 95,000 a year. Here's 110. Here's 70 to 160, and here's front end React developer, 53 bucks an hour, 67 bucks an hour. Here's $85,000. Here's for junior web developers, 25 to 35,000, which is really low. But if you're starting out and maybe you don't have much experience, this might be a company that will take you. You work there for 5-6 months, and after you leave, you'll be able to get some of these higher level jobs. But so like 25 bucks an hour is like 25,000 to 30. Like I think 30,000 is 15 bucks an hour. But you see most of the jobs 80,000, 100,000. Here 30 bucks to 37 bucks per hour, assistant web developer. That, I mean, compared to what you're potentially going to be making at Upwork, 15 bucks an hour, and that's average. So 50% of people make less and 50% people make more. That's a scary statistic. So when you're looking to get a job and you're thinking maybe freelancing is going to be easier, freelancing is actually much more difficult. Like I said before, there's many hats that you have to wear. Not only do you have to be able to do the work, but you also have to be able to handle the marketing, the advertisement, and looking for clients, making the sales, chasing people who don't pay. It's a lot of work, especially if you're just starting out, because by yourself, you're not going to have the money to pay somebody else do the sales for you. You're not going to have the money to pay somebody else to, chase people that don't pay you. So there's a lot of risk. And I'm not saying that it's not possible, but in my opinion, getting a job is way easier, and it's the route that I eventually went. I did some freelancing work, and the work was inconsistent. Yes, I made money on some websites, but it wasn't consistent enough for me to count on that money to make a living. When you make a big project, it's great, and then all of a sudden you have no projects to do, and all of a sudden you're not making any money. So what I would say is get the job first, work there for a while, and then switch, eventually once you build a reputation, once you have a big enough network from which you could get clients, then maybe you could go freelancing. But it's not what it's, all cut out to be. So I know a lot of people, they try to get a job. My cat's saying hello here. A lot of people try to get a job, they're not able to get it, then they think freelancing is going to be easier, so they try to do that, they spin their wheels, and then they're like, oh, I can't do freelancing, it's not happening for me, and then they just quit. So what I would say for those of you who are self-taught, looking to switch careers, just stick to your plan. Keep learning the things that you need to learn and keep moving forward and work to get your first web dev job. It's not easy. There's a lot of stuff you have to do, a lot of work you have to do, but the truth is that's everybody has to do the work, but it is possible. Some people maybe do it in a shorter time, some people going to do it in a much longer time. Like it took me forever to get my first job. And what's interesting, I got my first job, an internship, it was unpaid, then I finally got a paid internship, then I got a part-time contract working for a marketing agency, working with WordPress, and then eventually I landed my web development job that didn't really pay much, and then eventually I was able to land a contract role which paid even more money. So, but that was over a period of years. It took a lot of time and a lot of work. So it's definitely possible. I don't want to say that it's not, but most importantly, you guys have to do the work and do it. But doing freelancing, as I showed you, and I'll go over it again, is not as easy as a lot of people think. It's actually much more harder. So let me know in the comments if you guys have any questions, anything that you guys want to talk about or mention. Say hello. I know because there's some holidays and stuff like that, the stream might be light, but I just wanted to jump in and kind of do a live stream, make sure the equipment works, make sure to get back on schedule. I'll also push out some videos. I want to do more code war videos, ones where kind of solving algorithm and data problems. It's a lot much user friendly than lead code. Lead code is very difficult. So when you're just starting out, it's kind of easy to, kind of get lost in lead code. And that's why I like code wars, because it makes things a little bit easier to get started, and you are learning important skills that will help you in your interview and get a job. So, hey Alex, what's up? Good to see you here. How have you been? It's going to be a quiet stream, but that's okay. You and I could have a chat, which will be awesome. By the way, I also have ability to have people come on live. If you want to jump in and talk live, you could do that too. If you're interested, no big deal. Hope you're having a great weekend, having a good time, and hope all your studying is working well. I hope you're making progress. So yeah, in today's episode, like I mentioned before, if you missed the beginning, it's okay. We're talking about freelance versus web development jobs. What is easier to get? What is harder? What are the benefits of each? And if you're looking to get a job and maybe you're not getting one and you're thinking about maybe I should jump into freelancing, it's not as easy as people make it out to be. It is very difficult. It is a lot of work, and it definitely is difficult. So actually, Jose here has a great question. Jose, did you do some cold calling, and did you have a script prepared before you talk to people? Jose, that is an amazing question, because exactly what you just said is you do have to be prepared, and you have to be literally doing legitimate sales. So I did have a script. I did some good Googling to prepare kind of my pitch, and I'll tell you what my pitch was. So yeah, if you guys are interested in freelancing, this is kind of what I did, and I would recommend, and I forgot where I learned it, but it's from a course I took on Udemy. Some guy that talked about SEO and Google stuff, and he also kind of talked about how he goes on finding clients, and I think it's very applicable to web development as well. So what I would do is I would create a script, and my script was based on this idea. I would do my research. I would basically, in my area, look up all the dentists. I'm going to use dentists as an example. And I would first find all the local dentists in my area, and I would go and look up their websites. Because a lot of times, if you call someone and you say, hey, are you interested in the website? They'll just be like, no, because it's just a cold call. They don't know you. They don't trust you. So if you ask them something, they'll just be like, no, I don't want to talk to you. So you got to do your homework. So the first thing I did, and this is what I learned from this guy who used to sell Google services, you do all your research, you find all the local businesses in your area, like we'll use dentists for example, and you make a spreadsheet. You go to every business, you see if they have a website. If they don't have a website, then you put a check mark. If they do have a website, what you do, you go to their website and you take a look at it and you see if it's optimized, if you think you could do something better, if you find a problem that they might have. Maybe they have a button to sign up. If you click the button to sign up, it doesn't work, make a note of it. So basically do a quick kind of overview of their website and kind of see, is it working like it's supposed to? What can you offer that client to make it better? And so after you complete that list, and before I continue, at the end of the day, what businesses want, they want to get more customers and they want to make money. So keep that in mind when you're doing it. And this is already sounding like a lot of work, right? And it is. But once you make a list, what you do is you call people and you don't say like, hey, I'm a web developer. Do you have a website? You call them and be like, hey, my name is Paul. I just took a look at your website and I saw you had these 3 problems that I found, and I know that they're costing you sales. I know that you could have more people signing up, and if you have a minute, I would like to email you the notes that I took. And if you're interested, you could give me a call back or we could talk more, and I would love to fix your website for you or make a new website will generate more leads. And the reason why I like to do that is because some people don't have time to talk to you on the phone. So what you do is you send them an email and you outline the issues and how you're going to fix it, right? You give them that free report. And are you going to convert every business that you talk to? No, but at least you're prepared enough. You know how to solve an issue that you identified for them, and you're giving them this free report. Maybe they'll hire you, maybe they'll hire somebody else, but they will see like, hey, this dude took the time, he looked at my website, he identified all the issues that it had, and he sent me a report that he didn't have to do that shows that there's a problem and he's the person to fix it. And so you gave them value up front, and they're not obligated to return, that same value to you, but they'll be like, hey, I have a problem. This is the guy on top of my mind because he called me, and maybe they'll call you. And if they don't call you, guess what? You follow up. You call them again. Be like, hey, we spoke, on the phone last week. I sent you that report. I saw the issues. Let me know if you want to do something about those issues. But as you could see, like I could go and talk more about it, but it's like a whole skill of sales. And so that's something you have to be really good at when you're doing freelance development. And if you think Upwork is going to be enough, we're going to come back to Upwork in a second. I kind of started with it at the beginning. If you saw it, it's going to be repeat. But it's also, you can't not do sales if you're going to be freelancing. It's just a fact of it. If you want to make money, you have to be good at sales. You have to be good at marketing. So that's 2 different hats you already have to wear on top of actually being able to do your service. You know what I mean? And if you're not getting a lot of clients, you're not going to be in business long. So I hope that answered your question, Jose. Let me look at the comments here, what we have here. And Alex, great question, leads us into our next question. Is freelancing on sites like Upwork worth it? So I tried to signing up for Upwork and I tried to give it a go, and I quickly learned that it is a waste, at least in my opinion, of my energy and time trying to get gigs on Upwork, because it is a race to the bottom. A lot of people, they live in different countries which might not have the same standards of living like your country, like US. Maybe in US you want to make $50 an hour, but somebody else is going to be able to do that same work somewhere else for $15 an hour. And you're competing with those people. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's the issue with Upwork. And so let's take a look here at their website, see what they're kind of saying. And let me know if my audio is good. Let me know if you could hear me well. But let me share my screen here. Bam. All right, so here's Upwork, and this is like the bad news, but I'm going to show it to you in a second. So this is the Upwork website where they're like, hey, get started, work from anywhere. You could make so much money. Look at these people. I don't even know if they're real people. I'm just going to say they are, probably. I'm assuming they wouldn't put tricky information on their website. But look, she makes $40 an hour, $70 an hour, $60 an hour, $140 an hour. And okay, they have success jobs. Okay, they're making money. But this is like, I don't know how many users are on Upwork, but this is like the 1% of people on Upwork that are making the big bucks, and they're hustling for it. They made, and not all of them are web designers. This is a writer. This is a editor. This is landing pages and email templates, and this is a developer job. This is worldwide, United States, not that much different. And a lot of people get excited, and they sign up like I did, and you try to, kind of browse gigs and try to get a job. And what ends up happening, you basically get bidded to do stuff for, 10, 12, 13, 15 bucks an hour, especially if you're starting out and don't have the reputation. So as you look here, average on Upwork is $15 an hour of income, and so that's not a lot of money. And for some people, that's a lot of money, right? If I lived in Thailand, I would make 15 bucks an hour all day, every day, and be perfectly happy because cost of living in Thailand is low, and I would just live there and work on Upwork. But for people that live in other places, it's kind of difficult. And as you could see here, this is average, and you could see here that 75% of all people on Upwork make around 24 bucks an hour. And, it's decent. It's not bad, right? It's not terrible, but the amount of hustle that you need to do, because at the end of the day, Upwork, people bid on the projects, and they will take the lowest possible price with someone who has the best rating. And let me tell you, there's plenty of people in other countries that have amazing ratings and are willing to do the job at 15 bucks an hour, 12 bucks an hour. So it's literally race to the bottom. So what I would do is not use Upwork unless you figured out how Upwork works. But you got to understand, you got to be the top 20% to make the money on Upwork, or I would say 1%. So instead of spending my time here, like what I would do something else. So let's see here. We have any better alternative to Upwork. So after I stopped looking at Upwork, I just stopped looking at other websites that are similar to Upwork. I just decided, you know what? I'm going to just try to get a job. And while I'm trying to get a job, I'm also going to try to get freelancing clients if I can. And I would do it the method that I kind of outlined by calling small businesses, telling them, hey, I checked out your website, or wow, you don't have a website, you should have a website, and I would try to sell. But the issue with that, it's not consistent work. And so sometimes when you do have work, it's nice. And when you don't have work, you don't have work. So it was much easier in my case to just continue to study and get a job. And if you live in an area where it's difficult to get a job, I would still continue to fight and try to find a remote position, but at an actual company rather than doing freelancing, because freelancing is very difficult. It's not like you show up and people just give you money for the work you do. You might show up and people might say, yeah, let's do the work. You do have the work. And then all of a sudden they flake on you and you don't know what happened to them, where they go, but they still didn't pay you the other half of the money that you wanted. And if you look on, like another website here, just to see, when you're working on a company, you could be making 80 grand, 100 grand. And the truth is, you're probably not going to start, if you starting, as a brand new, maybe you want to boot camp, maybe you're self-taught, you might get a job making $55,000 or, anywhere between. There are actually some jobs that I saw here which literally paid 25 to 35,000, which is really low for development salary. But again, if you don't have a degree, maybe you didn't go to boot camp and you just wanted to get your foot in the door, I would actually take something like that. It's not a lot of money, but you have to understand, after 5 to 6 months, you're going to build your experience, you're going to learn your skills, and you could apply to some of these higher paying jobs, and 30, 37 bucks an hour, that's pretty good, and as you could see, working at a company, oh, I have to activate it. Let's not activate anything. But as you could see, getting a job and working somewhere else, not only are you going to get a higher pay than doing freelancing on your own, but you're also not taking all the risks, right? A lot of people don't understand that doing freelancing, you're taking 100% of the risk. You're putting up money up front to make money, right? Because you need to buy a computer, you need to do this. Let's say you have all that stuff. You still have to advertise, you still have to look. And some of these like gig websites, they have a monthly fee to help you find gigs. But the point is, like, you're taking all of the risk, and at the end of the day, if you fail, you will fail big, and if you succeed, you could succeed big. Don't I don't want to tell you just one side that it doesn't work. Freelancing works if you're really good at it, but to make it work, you have to work 80 to 90 hours a week to start, to make sure that you could build enough clientele in your funnel to have enough work for yourself to last you for a whole year, so you could actually make consistent income. Where at a job, you just show up, you do your work for 8 hours a day, and then you go home. A lot of people think you do a lot of overtime. That's not entirely true. There might be few cases where they ask you to work a little bit longer when there's a deadline, but majority of the jobs you work in 40 hours a week, unless you're doing game development. A lot of these AAA companies, they work you like a horse, but it is what it is. And so that's the case. Let's look at the comments here. Do you keep getting contact overseas who want to work on Upwork through your identity? I haven't had that happen, but let me tell you this. The competition is high, right? So I don't know if you guys ever bought a domain name on a website like similar to GoDaddy or Bluehost. They must have a list of all the new contacts of people who just bought a new domain name, because every time I buy a domain name, I just bought one recently, someone contacts me, and it's not the best English, nothing against it. My English is not that good either, Russian, but the point is, they will contact you. You could clearly say everybody who's contacting you is a person from another country. Nothing wrong with that. But they're contacting you, they're following up with you, they're trying to get you to get work. So the competition overseas for freelancing is very difficult, because at any given time, someone from overseas could easily send an email to somebody here and try to start a conversation. One of the things that I guess, like, if you live, let's say, in US, a lot of business owners who have their businesses in US would want to work with a freelancer who also lives in US, because they want to talk on the same time zone. They want to make sure that this person is in the same place. So that's one reason I think freelancing work from overseas didn't cannibalize US jobs, because a lot of people just like to work with people that live in their area. But it is very competitive, very difficult. So that's why I keep saying, getting a job might be the easiest way to do it. Are some industries more open to having online presence than other industries? I mean, that's a great question. Like, I don't study different industries to kind of see, but I feel like moving forward, especially out there after the pandemic, most companies are going to start making transition to this whole idea of having an online presence. A lot of the businesses are going to do it. But by the way, in terms of any business that small business or medium-sized business that is making money, they all have online presence, on either social media or a website. And so there's no company that's going to do well if they don't have social presence. When I first read your questions, I thought you meant from the standpoint of people who are hiring, and more in terms of working remotely. But in terms of businesses, every business that wants to succeed and make money, they all have online presence, because look, they're competing with other companies that have online presence. And so that's the future. Everybody who is able to understand how to make sales online through their website, through their social media, are all the companies that are going to succeed. There's no, like, a lot of these brick and mortar stores, who are competing with Amazon, they're either going to fail or they're adding some sort of online store. Like, for instance, the supermarket that I go to, you could go to the physical store, or you could order all your stuff online and they deliver it to you, right? Because they have to compete with places like Amazon. So in terms of industries or businesses, everybody has to be online. So being a web developer and looking for clients from that standpoint, there's always someone that needs a website. But the competition when you're freelancing, and especially on Upwork, you're not just competing with people in your immediate country, but you're competing with the whole world. And so you really have to stand out. So it's not impossible. And that's not the whole point of this podcast. It's not that freelancing is bad and impossible and you shouldn't do it. It's just much harder than getting a regular job. It really is. The commitment, the risk that it takes is a lot. So yeah, but if you guys have more questions, ask them in the comments, because the whole idea, like, I'd really love to talk to you guys about your experience, where you are on your journey learning to code, what you guys doing, what difficulties you are having. Let me know in the comments. And I'm always so happy to see you guys show up to my live streams. It means a lot to me. I know I'm a smaller channel just starting out, but I really love the love and the support you guys show. So thank you for that, and keep the questions coming. And I'll take a look here. Someone wants to, let's see here. Yeah, a lot of likes. Thank you. A lot of likes. Yeah, and I know I keep saying this a lot, but if anybody wants to jump in and chat via camera live and ask some questions, let me know. I have the feature on the streaming service. It would be fun to test it out. So yeah, and I'm drinking my coffee, as always, because I love coffee. It's great. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And yeah, getting a job, that's the best thing to do. And regardless how old you guys are, I'll give you, maybe some of you guys are younger, maybe some of you guys are older. I'm 40 years old right now, and I really started learning web development seriously like around 36, 35. And it was a long journey for me because I did have another full-time job, which kind of, made it difficult for me to stay focused, because I was making pretty good money at that job and didn't really have an incentive to switch. But I also like web development. But I just talked to another friend of mine yesterday who's been in a career for a long time. He's my age, 40, and he's like, hey, Paul, I was thinking of switching into web development and coding. Is it something that is realistic? And I think if you're going to put in the work, if you're going to put in the time, at any age, it is possible, but it's going to be difficult, but it's still worth it. Like we saw, at the Glassdoor listings, maybe when you're first starting out, maybe your job will only pay you $35,000 because you have no experience. But 5 to 6 months, it's very easy to get to 50, 60. And probably if you're just starting out, your first job is going to be around 50 anyway. But it's very easy to get to 75, 85, 95. And there's plenty of people I personally know that are making over 100K working as web developers. And obviously they're senior developers now, but it is possible. And the cool thing about web development is that you don't have to wait 20 years to go from junior to senior. Once you start working, once you start, or like working for a company, within, 5 to 6 years, you're going to be at a senior role. And I know some people reached it even sooner. So it's really awesome to know that you might start not making the money you want, but over time, you're going to make more money. And there's no risk, right? Because you're working for somebody else and they're paying you for your time. And if you get fired or you leave, you just go and find another company. Where if you're doing freelancing, you're not, like, if you don't have any clients, you can't pay the bill. There's too much risk. There's no security of having a job. Another thing a lot of people don't think about freelancing, and I know in different countries it's different, but at least in US, when you work as a freelancer, you have to provide your own retirement. You have to provide your own health insurance, which adds to the cost and costs a lot of money. When you work at a job, they have health insurance plans which they provide that are way cheaper, and also they match part of the money that you save for your retirement. So there's a lot of benefits of working at a company. And so yeah, freelancing sounds exciting. Of course, everybody wants to work from their beach on their laptop, have a vacation. And recently, I'll have to find for next time, I found a video where I made a funny video where I'm sitting on the beach with my laptop pretending to be that freelancer guy who will teach you how to make $1 million working from your computer on the beach. But honestly, I wasn't working, I was on vacation. But that's just the way it is. It takes a lot of work. It's difficult to do. And, you got to keep at it. Alex, have I done any niche websites or other passive income stuff? So, I did. And you know what? They were very difficult. And I'm assuming when you mean, like when someone says niche websites, I look at it like two ways. Number one is you made a website, niche website for somebody else, and you sold it to them, right? You coded the website, whatever they wanted. But to me, niche website is more of you made a website yourself, and then you provided content, and you grew readership of that website, and then you were able to make passive income from it via ads. And honestly, I tried it. I gave it a good run. I tried it for a year, and it wasn't blowing up like I wanted to. And again, it was much easier for me just to keep coding and get a web development job and make more money. So anything that's, niche website, starting your own business, doing freelancing, they all fall into that category where, yes, there's a lot, there's no ceiling on how much money you could make if you're really good at it. But that's the key. You have to be really good at it. A lot of these people that make money on niche websites, they know the industry very well. They know what works. They've done it before through failure. There's a great, actually, I'll show you these guys. There's a great YouTube channel, especially if you're looking to learn how to do niche websites. And they have, their websites, you could sign up for their, service, but they also, have a lot of cool content on YouTube. And I think they're called Income School. And so, yeah, if you follow this channel, they give you a lot of great feedback on what you should do to kind of get started with a niche website and how to start making money. But what I like about these guys is that these guys are not going to sell your dream and sugarcoat things for you. They're going to tell you it's very difficult. It's very hard, and you have to put in a lot of work. You know what I mean? And it's very difficult to do, as I tried in my case, and I made like $3. You know what I mean? It's very difficult. And they actually also started a YouTube course. And I kind of think if you want to do something, instead of a niche website, is creating a niche YouTube channel, and you'll probably be more successful. I mean, my YouTube channel, it's just about me blogging about learning to code and getting my first job. I'm reaching almost at 1,500 subscribers, and I know I'm going to keep growing and growing and growing. And over time, I'll get 10, 20, 30, 50, and then I could advertise products to you guys, or I could sell my own courses. Eventually, when I get really good at programming and I have courses that to sell like 5 years from now, like this YouTube channel will be perfect for that, or do affiliate marketing. I think instead of blogging, you'd be better off starting a YouTube channel doing that. But again, doing a YouTube channel is difficult. You talk to anybody who has a YouTube channel, they're all going to tell you how much of a grind it is and how difficult it is. YouTube, like for me, YouTube channel has been like a grind. Maybe I could find, my stats and when I started my YouTube channel. It's not that like I started like a year from now. And of course, there's people who start their YouTube channels and they have like amazing time and everything works out, and in 3 to 6 months they have like 10 million subscribers. But that person is not average, or maybe they got lucky. It really takes way too much work for very little return at the beginning. And even now my channel is growing. I'm still not making any money from my YouTube channel, and I'm gonna show my analytics here for a second, and they're terrible because for past 2 weeks I haven't done nothing. But what I want to show you is kind of the lifetime of my channel, just to put things in perspective for you guys, that this stuff takes time and that's not easy. So a lot of people, when they ask questions about like niche websites, if they ask about freelancing and stuff like that, it's not impossible. It's just very difficult, and not everybody's going to succeed at it. So as you could see here, look, like I started this YouTube channel in July 2017, and there was no growth at all for the first 2 years, right? And that's normal, maybe 2 years, 1 year, and then eventually it'll start to pick up and keep moving up and keep moving up. So, I got more views in the last, 6 months than I did in the first 2 years of my channel. And why do I show you this? And the reason why I show you this is because I want to let you guys know that no matter what you guys decide to do, you have to commit to it and you have to stick with it over a long period of time to make it successful. There's no such a thing as an easy thing to do. Listen, I'm 40 years old, and the biggest mistake I made is falling for those get rich quick schemes, that people try to pander to you or sell to you. They try to sell you this dream, but at the end of the day, it's like you do the work, you get good at that thing, you do it well, and you get paid for it. There's no like secret per se. So let's take a look at the comments, see what we're doing. All right, all right, all right. Let's see here. I'm still getting used to my setup. Hey, Paul, great seeing you today. Question, how long does it take on average to learn React? Currently, right now, I'm almost done with learning JavaScript. So if you started with JavaScript and you know the basics of JavaScript, like the basic syntax, you know how to do basic DOM manipulation with JavaScript, if you start learning React, you could get competent within 2 to 3 months. Notice I didn't say 1 month, notice I didn't say like, 2 weeks. And 2 3 months, in my opinion, that's like you're working really hard every day and spending a lot of time building stuff with React. So is it impossible? No, but some people could do it. Now, that's not what happened to me. It took me about a year to get comfortable with React, and one of the reasons for that is because I kept trying to learn another language in the process. Instead of just committing to JavaScript and React, I would be like, oh, maybe I need to learn Python. Maybe I need to. So I had too many different things that were pulling me in two different directions. But I would say, if you really committed 4 to 6 months, you could get to a point where you could start building things that will help you get the job. Now, it took me longer than that because I wasn't as focused as I needed to be, because I felt like maybe React is not the right thing. Maybe I need to learn Angular. Maybe I need to learn. But at the end of the day, you have to pick one thing, stick with it until you get good at it. And in terms of learning, what I found in myself, I would start to learn JavaScript, start to learn React, and nothing would make sense. I would think like maybe I'm too stupid to learn this, and nothing would click. And that's normal feeling, right? That doesn't mean that you're not smart enough to understand this stuff. It just means that you have to put more practice and more time. There's still a lot of things that I don't know outside of React and JavaScript. Like for instance, Logic Indie has been helping me make a JavaScript game, which I've never done before, and everything he's showing me, like I'm like, oh my god, like wow, this is like really hard. How do you even figure this out? Because the context is different. It's not something that I practiced enough. And so there's a lot to know about everything. And even though making games in JavaScript is still using JavaScript, it's not making React web applications with React. And so they use JavaScript, but the type of knowledge that you use are two different things. And that's why you could be good at making web pages, but you could not be good at making games, or vice versa. Or you could be awesome and be good at making games with JavaScript and making React applications. So don't give up. Keep studying React. Realistically, I would say to go from not knowing anything to being able to build something, it's 6 months process realistically, and you're studying, like seriously studying. You're not doing 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there. A lot of people don't like to hear that advice because they're like, oh man, you asked me to do work and that's it, what it is. And like I said before, like I don't tell you how much money I make at my first job because it was the same amount I made at a supermarket. But I took that job because I knew that what was more valuable to me was the experience I got working at that company, which would allow me to move on and get a different. And because of the experience I gained working there for peanuts, I was able to get a job making 3 times as much, eventually. But it all takes work, it all takes time, and you just got to do the work. But if you don't give up, if you keep pushing forward, you guys are going to get there. So let's take a look at the comments. You guys are all awesome. I love all of you guys. Giving some random dude on internet support, telling him like, hey, tell us more stuff, But yeah, I'm really grateful to have you guys tune in, watch. Again, like I said, some random dude talking stuff. Hey, Luke, how are you? I'm glad to see you on the live stream. The earlier times, much nicer for those of us who live in the States. And I know there's some people that are not able to make it who used to come on the live stream because they're overseas, but it is what it is. I did the vote. Majority of you guys selected this time. So that's what we're going to do for a while until maybe a morning stream that will be great for some of you guys who live abroad. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. Always fun. Always love having you guys here. Let's see. More comments. Keep them going. Since we're talking about React, if you're given design, how do you decide the component hierarchy? So the way you do that is kind of like the way I describe it is, think of when you're doing HTML and CSS, you know how they have the box model and everything literally is a box. So when you're given a design, what I start doing, hold on a second. You probably, I don't have it saved on my computer, but somewhere, maybe I erased it. Damn it. Maybe I have it in camera of photos. But I basically, somebody asked me that same question. And basically what I told them is, oh, I might have some. Yeah, this is a very bad example because I kind of gave it, free-handed it. Let's see if you guys could see it. You're not going to see it because I have to basically adjust my zoom, but I'm going to describe this to you, because basically what you do is you draw boxes around all the different components. You draw boxes around all the different components, and you have the main content, right? Then you might have navigation and header. You draw a box around that. That's its own separate component, right? Then you have your layout, and basically draw boxes and you give them hierarchy, and that's how you create your components and reusable. I know I'm not giving you a lot of detail about how to do that. Maybe I have a example here on CodePen. Probably not. Let me see if I could find a website I could show you and maybe kind of describe it. That's a good question. Let's talk about it. I like that. Yeah. So let's see. Netlify, I guess I have some stuff. Yeah, but basically it's just boxes inside boxes. That's how I think about components. You probably were looking for a much smarter answer. I wish I had a much smarter answer for you, but I'll show you an example here. So, okay. Let me share my... I need something that I could draw boxes with. I don't have anything to... See, I wasn't prepared. You got me to it. Yep. So I'll show you, I'll show you this. Hold on a second. How do you switch screens? Good Lord. Here we go. This is not the right screen. I'm going to switch it here. All right, so you guys see the screen. So basically, this is a React application or a mock-up of it. And what you would do is you would basically... Look, I'm under pressure. I can't draw boxes, okay? Give me a break here. So basically, let me delete this one. This is a box you don't need. So basically, you would be like, okay, this... I can't draw. So this whole thing is a layout component, right? And in this layout component, you might have 3 other components, which are your header, your navigation, and your main content. So the hierarchy here would be that the red box, which is your main component, has the 3 components, which are your header, your navigation, and your main view. And then now inside the main view, which is the parent of this container, you might have a, well, actually this would not be the section. You would have, this is a separate component. This is a separate component. I kind of know those two live together, so I'm going to do it like this. And so 1, 2, 3, these 3 components are inside the orange main nav component. And then within this green component, you would have a couple more components. And that's how you basically have your hierarchy. And when you see the code, it is actually going to match this layout. So the red main component will have 3 orange components, which would be the main view, the header, the navigation, and then within those areas you have the smaller components, and you basically keep breaking things down into components. So for instance, this is a separate component, and it's basically up to you how deep you want to go, but that's the basic general way of handling hierarchy. And by the way, the easiest way when you're learning to code is to basically take a snapshot of a picture. I don't have one here. To take a snapshot of a picture and then draw your boxes around. So let me go back to Netlify here. So like for this website or any websites that I do, or the mockup I get, I basically would draw boxes around all the different sections, and I would give them names, right? Like imagine this would be one section, this would be a component, this would be a component, and break it down to components, and then I would do my JSX and create my components in React. I hope that helps, but that's the easiest way for me has been to do anything, is to basically make everything a box and then give it a name, and that's my component. That's like the simplest way I could look at it. I hope that was a satisfactory answer. Were you satisfied with that answer? If you're not satisfied, it's okay. It's okay. I'll do better next time. I do better next time. But here we go. So let's get back to the comments here. Luke, yep, I too got involved in a scam after scam in my misspent youth. And that happens to everybody. And like the hardest thing about that is to actually learn that lesson. I'm 40, and probably like 3 years ago, that's when I learned that lesson. Like, I'm not going to like say I'm some amazing guy that had life figured out, but I really learned that honestly, there is no shortcut. There is no, secret. If a man with an idea comes to a fool with money, or however that saying goes, the man with an idea will end up with the fool's money, and the fool will end up with no money. I don't know how that saying goes, but that's the basic gist of it, is that if you search and try to find quick fixes, you're just going to get burned. It doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. Like I don't know why some people don't believe me when I tell them there's no easy way to do something. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the time. But it's the way it is. It's hard work. I've been at it really just struggling, banging my head against the desk, learning to code. And the only reason I was able to accomplish something is because I didn't stop. I kept going. If I stopped and gave up, then I would be like everybody else who quit and never finished their goal. Like the thing is, you don't just try and stop. You keep trying, failing, try, fail, success, fail, success, fail, success. And a little bit, you're just going to have a little bit more wins, a little bit more success, and that's how you're going to get to your goal, getting to where you want to be. But like if everybody's jumping from YouTube channel to YouTube channel, looking like what is the easiest way, what is the quickest way, I'm sorry, that does not exist. And if you find it, let me know. I would love to hear about the super. Okay, maybe you timed the GameStop stock correctly and you were able to make bajillion dollars, but that's the way it is. How was my drive to Texas? It was amazing. It was amazing because when we hit, I believe, Arkansas, they had pitch black night, a lot of lightning, and tornado warnings everywhere. And I think a tornado touched down somewhere. And for me, that was really stressful because I watched some movie about tornadoes a while ago and freaked me out. I was like, oh man, it's pitch black. We're going to drive in a tornado. But besides that, it was really fun. It was really fine. We basically made it in 2 days. We drove first day, 10 hours, stayed in Ohio, Cincinnati. And then the next day, we drove literally for 20 hours, made it home to Austin around like 3 a.m., which was nice because then we had Sunday to rest. But yeah, tornadoes, no joke. legit. Let's see here. What's up, Creating with Code? Good to see you here. Thanks for jumping in, joining the stream. Yeah, that I don't really use specific apps, whatever I have available. Sometimes like I have a Mac computer, so on my Mac I have like something called like Pixelator or something like that that allows me to draw boxes. Or sometimes I'll just print out the design, draw it with a pen or pencil. Sometimes like on my iPad I outline it with my fingers, with the stylus, on my iPad and stuff like that. So yeah, like just whatever is easiest for you. But the most important part, just learn to visualize things as boxes. And then when you see those boxes in your mind, like I think of them as a component and I visualize the code that I would write for that component. You know what I mean? And maybe next time we could do like a live tutorial. I could show like in CodePen how I go about it and doing that. But by the way, yeah, we have completely forgot about it. We do have a Slack channel. You could send me an email at codingafter30@gmail.com. And that's basically what we do. We're basically, as a community, working on building 5 projects. And these are the same 5 projects that I'm building for my resume to help me get my next job. And I thought about this a lot. And I think the projects that I came up with, and it's 5, yeah, it's a lot, but they definitely give you, a good kind of foundation of what you need to do to be able to get your job as a React developer or web developer. So the 5 projects we're building, number 1, it's important to know HTML and CSS. So the first project is find the website that you like, and I posted on our Slack a particular website that I have found, and everybody has to recreate that same website with HTML and CSS. So the first project is HTML and CSS only, and the goal of that project is for you to be able to look at a mock-up or an image of a website that somebody gave you and make that design pixel perfect or as close as possible and have it be responsive. Because what this shows is that any design a designer shows you, you could recreate it with HTML and CSS. You don't have to be a complete master with CSS, but you do have to take simple websites like the one I showed you, and I'll show you again. You want to be able to recreate it. So this is one website which is just HTML and CSS. Well, not just, this part is JavaScript, and it's, if you shrink it, it turns, it's responsive. The as people say, your websites have to be responsive. So you need to be able to create a website. And let me go to Netlify and show you. Yeah, I have a lot of bad projects here, so I'm not sure which one this one is. No, that's the same one that I just showed you. But I want to show you the one that we're actually building in our group. Let's see, new sites from Git. No, that's not what I want. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out, what am I doing? How does this work? Yeah, this is the site we're building in our group. And so this is a basic site that we're recreating. And the goal is for you to use HTML and CSS. So this is all CSS stuff, CSS functionality. You have your buttons. Anyway, find a website and recreate it with HTML and CSS. That's your number 1 goal. That's your number 1 project. And the second project, what we do is basically we focus on JavaScript. So we're taking the existing site that we have and we're going to add functionality like navigation that opens and hides when you click a button, or a modal window, or adding an image slider, things like that, which you basically showcase your basic understanding of JavaScript and showcase that you are able to build a basic website with HTML and CSS and give some basic functionality with JavaScript via DOM manipulation. The goal of the second project is not to become an expert at creating websites with pure vanilla JavaScript, because nobody does that anymore, unless you're making like small apps or widgets for a website. Most people use some sort of library because it's just more efficient and effective. Every company that I worked at and every project that I work at, we use some sort of library. Maybe it's React, I work with React. Maybe somebody else uses Angular. So the second project is just to kind of showcase and that you understand basics of JavaScript. The third project, take what you learned from the first and second project and now start learning how to build things with React and take the website that I just showed you and recreate it using React and JavaScript. And that will kind of ease you into React development. You're still making a static website, meaning the data is not dynamic, it's not being pulled from an API or a backend, but you are able to take a design and transition into React. And that is the basic goal of the third project. The fourth project is all about learning how to get data from an API. And I found one on YouTube. One of our friends from our Slack channel recommended making a COVID-19 tracker, and there's a good tutorial you could find online. I don't remember exactly who did it, but the point is it doesn't even have to be a COVID tracker. See if I could find it here. Here it is. Would be like the third project, but the idea is for you guys to create something that consumes data from an API. So this is not a simple, React app. It's basically a React app that consumes an API, and that's a skill you have to know. You have to understand, for instance, how to query data from a backend. And so all these countries, they're not coded in my code. They're dynamically generated from the call to the API that we make. And when I select a country, it makes another call and it pulls that data of the corona cases and stuff like that. And there's a map. I have to fix something, but the map is not going to show because my height of the screen is low. But yeah, here's the map that you guys see. And all this content comes dynamically from an API. So that's what you're looking to do in your third project is to in your fourth project is to understand how to consume an API with a React application or a front-end application. And that brings us to our final step, which will be more complex than anything else. And it's basically creating a backend. And you don't have to create a backend from scratch. You could use something like Strapi, but the idea is to create a backend that not only pulls data, I can't type, not only pulls data from your backend, but you also add things like authentication, you add things as giving chance for a user to add data. So basically you want an app that covers the basic CRUD applications, which is create, read, update, and delete. And the project I'm going to show you, it's not done. And there's many reasons for that. Part of it is because I'm working, but this is an application and it loads slow. Maybe I broke it. I don't know. I haven't looked at it in a while. But the idea here is that this application handles authentication. So you could create a user. You could log in as a user. Once you log in, I definitely probably broke something. I could tell that this application is broke because it used to never not load. So I have to check on it. But broken example, and that's going to happen. Yeah, it's definitely broken. But broken example and everything else is you basically want to create an application that does the basic CRUD application. Create, read, update, and delete. And you basically want to be able to know how to make these calls from the front end and to the back end, and your back end will either get the data for you, either create a new entry in a database, or update a current entry or delete. And once you can do that, once you understand basic CRUD application, you're definitely ready to get a job. And within those 5 projects, making that basic HTML and CSS site, creating HTML, CSS, which has JavaScript functionality. Project number 3, taking the first 2 projects and recreating it with React. Project 4, creating a React application like that COVID-19 tracker that I showed you a couple of screens ago that connects an API. And then my broken example that you saw that doesn't work right now, how embarrassing, is creating an application that basically has a backend and the front end portion. And you should be able to handle authentication, meaning you should be able to add users. If those users are authenticated, they should see certain content that they're allowed to see, and authenticated users should be able to add data, delete data, and update data. So once you know how to do all that stuff, you'll be able to get a job, because that's basically what I do at my work. Like what I described, the path from project 1 to project 5 is exactly what I do at my work, when I code. And that's basically what you do. And then once you get adventurous, once you get project 5 done, project 6 that I didn't mention to anybody would be creating a back end and stuff like that. And this is not the one that I wanted to show, but let's see if I could open it easily. Nope, cannot open easily. Maybe I'll show it to you guys next time, because I'm still trying to figure out how to use these screens. Oh God, what is happening? But basically, project number 6 would be, pick something like, C#, ASP.NET, or Node.js, and create your own backend. And I would say hold on to that step after you get your first job, right? Because that's already doing too many things at once. But ultimately, everybody's goal should be, unless you really like front end, is to start in the front end and then move to full stack development, because that's when you're going to make the big bucks. And that's what I am doing. And that's the way it is. Yeah, send me some Dallas Cowboy gear. Yeah, seriously. Good idea. Good. Yeah, I'll have to find it, check it out, and do it. Yeah, I'm not a big cowboy fan of any sorts. I'm gonna I grew up not too far from New York, and when I lived in Russia, I lived in Moscow. I'm like a city guy. That's my thing. You know. Luke, I just saw your post. Yeah, those are the 5 projects, and no, they're not. I think I might have listed them once somewhere in the Slack. I definitely have to get a designated section where I make it clear these are the 5 projects we're working on, because I'm still learning and going, still figuring out how to run efficient Slack channel. Doing a terrible job, but we do have a good group of people there working on the projects. But that's the outline. That's the one that I'm sticking with, and that's what we're going to cycle through. So as new people coming in, we're all going to be building these same 5 projects. And I will have to make a list. That's a great idea, Luke, for everybody to kind of see where we're going with that. And the thing that I want to say is that somebody might say, well, what do you do after you build those same 5 projects? Well, you could add new features to the existing projects and make them better. So the idea is, once you have 5 projects, you don't have to do another 5 and another 5 and another 5 to have 20 projects. You just keep adding more advanced features to the projects that you just built to showcase your growth as a developer, and you could talk about that. And that's why with the same 5 projects, it'll never get old. You will always keep God damn it, I can't talk. See? Every iteration, however you pronounce the word, I'm sorry. But as you make every new version of that same app, it just gets better with more richer features and showcases your higher level kind of programming skills. Someone who's just starting out, their basic website is going to be basic website. Someone who's been doing it for a while, their basic website will have some richer features that a beginner may not have. So you could still continue to work on those 5 projects and basically have a portfolio that constantly growing as you grow as a developer. So let's check out the comments here. Yeah, Luke, sorry about that. I totally get it. And you know what? It is a bummer. I'm not saying that, it's just terrible. But the thing is, I don't have anything to say. You got me, Luke. It is a bummer. It is probably the most depressing app we made. So maybe I just have this app because I made it as an example for project number 4. I should probably make a much more happier project, and I should do that, for sure. Uh, but it is a project that does serve a good example of what we want to create. But yeah, there's nothing good about it. I don't believe there's anyone out there who went from no coding experience to well paid. Yeah, 100%. And that's 100% true. And if you missed like my whole talk, like maybe you started late, I talked about freelancing over getting a web development job. And the short of it, you could always come back and watch this stream again. But the short of it, freelancing is way more difficult than a lot of people give credit to. And not only do you have to be a good developer who has experience building projects on your own from start to finish, that's one hat you wear, but you also have to do the sales and marketing. You have to also be able to get the clients, and you need to be able to manage your own finances. You need to, why if your client doesn't pay you, how do you handle that? Like, you delivered the project to them and they didn't send you the last check. So there's a lot of risk, a lot of stuff that you have to deal with. And for me, it's just much easier to just do the work and get the job and work there. And so I did freelancing, and did I make some money? I did make some money, but it was so inconsistent that it was never enough to make a living, because there'll be months where I would have no clients and I would be like, oh, what is happening? And so getting a job is just much better, and I'm not saying that it's impossible, but the way you would do it is like you work as a developer for a while, you build a good contact of people around you that could refer people for you as clients. And once you have that big social circle, people know who you are, they know you do good work, then go into freelancing. And I would suggest going into it part-time while you still have your full-time job. Don't give up your full-time job. And making that transition will be much easier because you have the experience, you have the understanding, you build the authority that shows others that you know how to do the work, and you build a social circle maybe on LinkedIn or other network that make it easy for people to refer work for you, and then you'll be able to grow. But just starting out as a thing first, it's very difficult, and I would not recommend it. And I talked about how Upwork is basically race to the bottom. That's what that is. I didn't like grow up in New York. I lived there for a little bit around like Brooklyn, probably like 6 months, and then I moved back to Connecticut. So I'm not like a true New Yorker, but when I tell people where I live, saying near New York is much easier than saying Connecticut, because they'll be like, oh, where's Connecticut? Well, Connecticut is between Boston and New York, and but man, New York is an amazing place to be. But I personally could not live there long term. Not only is it too expensive, but it's it's just too many people, I would say. But it is amazing to go visit. And also, if you're Russian like me, they have a lot of good Russian restaurants, like a huge Russian community, and more importantly, they have banyas. If you don't know what those are, you could Google that. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Hey, thank you. I'm glad that you guys are enjoying the channel, the live feed, because always blows me away. And I guess I am some dude on the internet giving you my personal opinion, and all it is opinion based on my experience, my struggles, and hopefully you're finding a lot of value from it. But I really appreciate all of you guys showing up and being part of this community, and kind of just honestly, if you guys didn't show up today, like, I would not have this channel. I would not be able to talk to you like that. So I really appreciate each and every one of you guys here, because you're the ones who make this community possible. So thank you again. Always amazing, always great. Can I join your Slack channel? Is it free? Yes, the channel is free, and basically, it's a community of people who are working on projects together. Like, I don't hold hands in that channel. I don't do the work for you. I just want to be upfront about that. I help and encourage you guys to do the work. I want to make a community where we all stick to the same goal. And I'm not more like a leader and telling you what to do. I'm more like someone who's on the same level alongside with you, doing the work together, going through the same struggles to get the job, to make it happen. And that way, we could all bounce ideas with each other. And to join that Slack, all you have to do is send me an email at codingafter30@gmail.com. I don't know if it'll let me post the email. I'm going to try it. It might write it weird, in the here. Maybe it worked. Let me know if it worked. But it's basically codingafter30@gmail.com. Send me an email. I'll send you a link. Eventually, I'm going to transition everybody. Not everybody. Eventually, I'm going to have a Discord channel just because that's what everybody's doing. But if you got into the Slack channel, I'm going to keep it like a closed group. So if you're on the fence, should you join the Slack channel? I don't know if you should, but if you do, you'll be part of an awesome community, which is working on their 5 projects to be able to get their first web dev job. And one day, once I start using Discord, I'm going to keep the Slack channel going, but I'm not going to be inviting new members to Slack. I'm going to be inviting them to the Discord channel. Yes. Let's see here. Listen, Luke, I get it, but we've all been stuck in our houses for such a long time, not going anywhere, that this pandemic is very depressing. It's a serious thing. And, I wasn't feeling myself for a while, just being in the house all the time. I started eating unhealthy. I gained a bunch of weight. It's terrible. And then the way it influenced everybody in the world, it's terrible. App idea was, I'm going to say somebody else recommended I do that project. I'm going to blame it on them. But yeah, it's a good project. I totally get you, Luke. I get it. I totally get it. Yeah, tell the client that the project will go live when you get paid in full. Yeah, that's definitely like a good strategy to have. And the sad fact of the matter is, why if they completely, just say whatever, and they basically just nowhere to be found, and you're calling. So you build this project, you got paid half the money for it, but then you don't get the rest because the client flaked out. And it's more common than you think, especially when you're starting out. So that's a risk every freelancer takes. That's not a risk you take at a full-time job. So I'm all about freelancing. I'm all about hustling. And I am using this channel to eventually build some sort of following that allows me to provide some sort of paid service for those who choose it. Obviously, I'm going to do a lot of free stuff also. But the point of me growing this YouTube channel is to eventually maybe do some one-on-one to tutoring for JavaScript, or stuff like that, or create my own courses that people could buy for like $10 or what have you. But it just all takes work. Freelancing is tough. And if you're thinking of doing freelancing, don't do it at the cost of your full-time job. Have your full-time job and then put in the extra hustle to work on your side hustle. And that's how you do it. Man, love me some good barbecue. That's one of my favorite things about being in Texas, is that the weather is mostly awesome until you have the winter that we had for 3 days that happens every 20, 30 years. But yeah, the weather is always nice. So you go out there and you barbecue, you grill, get some brisket going. It's real good stuff. So, hey guys, let me know if you guys have any more questions. Let's do another 15 minutes of this awesome live stream. I hope you guys getting value. Hit the like button if you like what we're doing here. If you want to join us on Slack, hit me up an email, codingafter30@gmail.com. And I always love hanging out with you. And like I always say, and I can't say this enough, is that having you guys is the reason why this channel exists. It's your support, your appreciation by coming in here, hanging out with me, having a good time, having your coffee or tea or whatever you guys drink. It's amazing. And I'd love to share my journey with you, but more importantly, I'd love to hear about your journey, where you are, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, because the community that I want to build is not about me talking one way to you, but all of us talking with each other and being able to learn from everybody's stories. So I really appreciate you guys. So let's do another 15 minutes. Let me know any questions because this last 15 minutes. Let me know um, any questions about anything. Whatever you guys want to talk about. Obviously coding related is appreciated, but I could talk about anything. And I know two live streams ago, we had some dude troll, I guess, and I kind of had to not put down the smackdown, but I did talk most of the stream about the troll, tried to give him some good advice. But I think in the future, because this is not me, like I love engaging with trolls. That's the issue. So like I decided, because it doesn't benefit you guys, anytime someone trolls my channel, I'm just going to ban them, because you watching me engage with a troll, even though I have fun with it, it's not fun for you guys. So I basically decided that's what I'm going to do, is ban people. The reason why I wanted to mention it is just in case you were in the last stream and you were like, man, where's Paul doing for an hour? Oh my God, he's not talking about anything useful. So that's going to be the strategy. This is my first time having someone like that, so it's kind of interesting. So yeah, let's do last few questions, last few whatever, talking about, if you missed some of the stuff that I talked about, freelancing versus getting a job, you could always rewatch the stream. Some of you guys, if you're super dedicated, could do the time code in the comments. I should start doing that, actually, by the way. I should be like better at it. But yeah, ask some questions in the comments. Let me know what you guys want to hear about. Do the last 15 minutes of good questions. Let them fly. Ask me anything coding related, life related. I'm pretty good at giving bad life advice. If you guys are interested, that's really easy for me to do. Yeah, so yeah, keep the chat going. And listen, like I said before, I really want to engage with the community. So the more of you guys give your, put your stuff that you want to say in the chat, really appreciate it. Really would be awesome. And let me know what you guys are working on. What projects are you building? How far are you along your journey? I'd love to hear about it. I don't just say it for the sake of saying it, like this is what I like. I love to code. I love to, talk about my experience. I love to share with you what I've been through. And I love coding in general. And so it's really amazing for me to have this chat with you guys. Christian Noriel. Hi, Paul. How are you? I just want to hear your thoughts about Next.js and Gatsby after learning Create React App. Thank you. Christian, that's exactly like what I would do. And I like the order that you said, Next.js and then Gatsby. So I love React, obviously. And when you're first starting out, you do Create React App. The issue with Create React App is that unless you specifically do it, it's really terrible for SEO. And so it's not going to be indexed by Google unless I think there's a thing called React Helmet or something, which allows you to add, the meta information that allows Google index your site. And the way you could fix that outside the step that I just mentioned is actually using Next.js or Gatsby.js. So I really love Gatsby. The issue that I have with it is that you also have to learn GraphQL, which sometimes could be very difficult, first when you're starting out, and you have to kind of make sense of it. And so the learning curve, I would say, is a little difficult, at least it was for me. And also, unless you're just creating websites like blog websites or very simple, online stores, Gatsby is perfect, and you should definitely use it for that. But outside of that, if you want to make an app or something that's a little bit more dynamic, I would definitely do Next.js. So basically, when I first started, I did, Create React App, like everybody else does. Then I started learning Gatsby.js. I really liked it. I was like, yeah, I'm going to build my portfolio site with Gatsby.js. It's going to be awesome. And then I was just like, but if I want to do something else, Gatsby is not as flexible as I thought it was going to be, at least in my opinion. So I stopped doing Gatsby and I started doing Next.js. So I think if I were to give someone an outline, I would say learn Create React App, then transition into Next.js, doing server-side React, and then afterwards, then you could get in Gatsby, unless you just want to make a simple like blog site for yourself or your client. Also, another reason for that, which is probably the most important reason that I should have said first, is that when I was looking for jobs, there were not that many jobs that were for Gatsby compared to jobs just for regular Create React application development or even Next.js. So I would say there's a lot more opportunity with Next.js and React rather versus Gatsby.js. So that would be my opinion, and that's what I'm doing. I'm basically focusing on still being awesome at React and keep learning React, and then transitioning for all my newer applications moving forward, creating them with Next.js. And I thought it was going to be like a very difficult transition, but my friend kind of like, he comforted me. He was like, no, the only difference is the way you handle routing, and it's pretty simple once you start doing it. Where in Create React App, you have to use React Router DOM, React Router, whatever you want to call it. But Next.js has its own routing, and once you understand how it works, it's actually pretty easy to make that transition. But Gatsby is awesome. It's just, for me, like, I'm 40 years old, so I really try to limit what I'm learning because I can't learn everything. So everything that I learn has to be specific to the next job I want to get. And what I do is I look what's in demand and what has the most opportunity, and that's the stack I'm going to learn. So I'm focusing mostly React and some Next.js. Because of my current role, I've been doing ASP.NET and C# development. I started learning C# as my backend language. And again, I wouldn't recommend doing too much on backend. If you're just starting out, spend 80% front end with React, or stuff like that, do Next.js. But after you get your first job, then start diving into more full stack development. Don't try to do everything at once. Like, if you're new, do 80% front end, 20% back end, meaning that you kind of understand what a back end is, how to make APIs call to get the data. But that's as far as I would take it, unless you want to be just a back end developer. But learning full stack will take a while. So I started really diving into back end after getting my first job, not before. Just wanted to give you that advice. Yeah. Hey, thank you. No, thank you for supporting the live stream, jumping in and working with us. I'm always happy that you guys getting, some good information from me. Alex, thoughts on React Native? I think it's also awesome. To be honest with you, I have made 0 React Native apps. And it's not because I don't want to. It's because I made a promise to myself, because what I started to do is I started to start a project and never finish. So I would start a project and never finish. And so I was like, you know what? You have these 5 projects that you committed to building. Do not learn anything new until you build those 5 projects. So my 7th project, because my 6th project is create a backend with either ASP.NET or Node, probably ASP.NET in my case, because it's relevant to my job. But the next project would be React Native. And I really like it because you don't have to learn anything new. You already know React, you already know JavaScript, and you're able to make a cross-platform like phone app. It's amazing. And so I'm definitely looking forward to learning that eventually, but not at the moment. I do have an idea for an app that I kind of mocked out that I do want to create with React Native. And obviously that's a natural progression for someone who already knows React. If you know no JavaScript, if you don't know any React, then you could maybe use Swift or whatever. But in our case, it's amazing. React Native is amazing. And after React Native, I do want to create a desktop app using Electron. It's definitely on my think of things to do. But I'm still right now in the React and Next.js kind of projects that I'm working on. Thank you for the great answer. Thank you for your advice. I'm doing Shopify development. Want to use either Next.js or Gatsby for the storefront. I highly consider your answer. More powerful to you, brother. Hey, more power to you, brother. Thanks a lot. Yeah, and Shopify development is really awesome. I don't know too much about it, but I know that there's plenty of jobs available. And I know Coding Phase talks a lot about Shopify. Yeah, I'm sure everybody knows who his channel is. Amazing dude. Go check him out if you've never seen it. So yeah, what I would say is that whenever you start learning development, like pick your journey and pick that road and stay on it, right? So I talked about ASP.NET, I talked about React, and then we here have a great example of Shopify development. That's three different branches. And so when you're first starting out, I'm not saying don't at one or another point try to walk the path of all the branches, but when you're starting out, either say, I'm going to focus just on Shopify development. And that's what you stick to until you get a job. Or I'm going to only focus on React. This is what I'm going to stick to until I get a job. Or I'm going to focus on ASP.NET with all that new stuff that's coming out until I get a job. But don't say, I'm going to start with ASP.NET, then do a little bit of React, then do a little bit of this, because then you're going to do what I did for the first 5 years of my development journey from like 30 on, is basically learn a lot about little. And that's an actual thing. I've been on this journey for a very long time, and I'm just glad that I finally able to make it. I don't want to tell exactly when I started because it would make you guys sad, because you'd be like, oh man, if it took him that long, maybe it's going to take me that long. Well, listen, it's because I wasn't committed. I did not know that the things that we're doing were mistakes, and hopefully me talking about them here will prevent you guys from making those mistakes. So let's do another like last 5 minutes rapid fire questions before we go. And yep, here we go. I see another one. Alex, do you use TypeScript? Oh my God. I want to not like TypeScript. I actually don't like TypeScript. But here's the thing, is that at my company, even though we originally started our app with React and using prop types, now the trend seems to be doing React with TypeScript. So I just started dipping my feet into TypeScript. Now, if you don't know JavaScript, you haven't made any applications with React, hold off on learning TypeScript. Learn JavaScript well, understand React, and then when you feel you need reason for TypeScript, like one of my friends, Jeff, he has the best advice. This is what he says. He says, if you don't know what problem it's solving, don't use it. So if you were to tell me, should I use TypeScript in React? And I tell you, what problem are you trying to solve with TypeScript? If you don't have a concrete answer, then you don't need it. You don't need TypeScript. But with that being said, the trend seems to be moving into React and TypeScript. And if you use VS Code, TypeScript works amazingly with VS Code. It's such an amazing experience. It's something that C# developers are used to in their Visual Studio. But VS Code with TypeScript is phenomenal. And basically, the short story is eventually, I think it's going to be the thing, React and TypeScript. And in my company where I work, we actually piecemeal adding TypeScript for all the new code, and and that's the cool thing about TypeScript, that you could integrate into your application piece by piece. You don't have to redo everything from scratch, which is amazing. So creating with code. Thanks for the web dev chat. You have great personnel for YouTube. Keep grinding, Paul, and thank you for all the help, guys. Man, thank you, Creating with Code, for joining us here and joining us on the Slack. Because, like I said, it's you guys. You're like my personality is the reflection of all your good vibes and your support and all the nice things you guys say. And so I just can't thank you guys enough, and I'm going to be doing it often for the remainder of my career as a developer, and maybe one day YouTube career. But, with that being said, guys, I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart jumping in and doing this live stream. If you want to join us on Slack, you could email me codingafter30@gmail.com. But with that being said, we're going to end the live stream here, and the new time is going to be every Saturday, 6 p.m. U.S. Central Time. And I know for some of us it doesn't work. For some of us it's perfect. But, before we go, I will answer this last question. So why do you not like TypeScript? So JavaScript is like loosely typed language. So you could do things in JavaScript that like a language like C#, which is strongly typed, will not let you. So that's why I like JavaScript, because it's loosely typed language and it's just much easier to write code. The issue is you could write bad code and not know it until it's too late. But if you well versed in JavaScript and you understand it, it's not a problem. So I just like vanilla JavaScript. I don't need another layer on top of my JavaScript to do typing. But it does seem to be a trend that, like, I might not decide to use TypeScript in my React project, but my boss might say it's a requirement to use TypeScript. So a lot of companies still don't use it, and a lot of companies do use it. But the issue is, I just like JavaScript because it's a loosely typed language. It's something that I like. It's like a wild, wild west. You could do whatever you want. Where in C# you can't. C# is a very strongly typed language, and so what TypeScript does is basically makes JavaScript a stronger typed language. And you know, and for me, it's like, that's not the part I like about JavaScript. If I want to use strongly typed language, I'm going to use C#, and that's what I do. But that's the thing. Anyway, the last question, I just wanted to hit it and answer it. Again, thank you all for all your support. I hope you guys have a great rest of the weekend. Thank you for tuning in. Again, these live streams are going to be every Saturday at 6 p.m. Central Time, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks you for all the love and everything you guys do. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.